Okay. So I've got to do the gratuitous, all about me. Okay. This is my Twitter. I don't think anybody does LinkedIn. I thought I would put LinkedIn on there, see what happens. And then there's my my website. If you go to that, you get a holding page because I've spent so much time and effort putting that together. But eventually, you can sign up for a subscription. There will be training material on there. I'm going to try and put some interesting stuff out there for free, just to get people kind of infused into Agile. I'll give you some basics and booklets and all those kind of things. So do have a look at least my Twitter and the URL, and just skip the LinkedIn. Let's see what happens. So I've been doing software development. I've been in software development. I don't know what you call it. What do you say? Like, I've been around software development for about
writing code.
Writing code. Okay, I haven't been doing that for 15 years, but I have been involved. I have been involved in kind of the software development circuit for about 15 years, probably a little bit more. Started off as a developer, then got into testing. Realised I liked testing more than development, but then went back to development. I don't know quite what happened there. Then I realised I met other really good developers and realised I wasn't very good at all. So I took an opportunity to go into management. This moment somebody like Niels comes in and slaps me. There's no such thing as management. I then went into management, team facilitation, kind of found my path into Agile, found my path into Scrum, and I'm now working. Okay, so who thinks, who knows of ThoughtWorks? ThoughtWorks, okay? Keep your hands up if you think it's an Agile organisation.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, keep your hands up if it's an Agile organisation, you think? Okay. So, we've heard from Spotify. Is Spotify an Agile organisation? Yeah, okay, good. I work for IBM.
You have our sympathy.
Thanks very much, sir. Who thinks that IBM's an Agile organisation? Oh, there's some contentious people. Yeah, I'm not going to go down that route. There was the CEO, Ginny Rometty. So I'm not long into IBM. Ginny Rometty, I think it was last year, maybe this time last year, she put a note out saying IBM is going to be an Agile organisation. And kind of, I've been at IBM for like 6 months, and it's been an interesting journey. My role is basically going to speak to customers and clients and teams about if they've got kind of in-flight projects or in-flight programs, or actually new customers coming into IBM, like how they can be Agile, what it means. And it kind of goes, then that kind of nicely pulls into this story, because this story is all about how I thought Scrum Masters would save the world. I mean, you see some blog posts where you kind of got the Superman, you know, for the Scrum Master. And this started as all good stories do, right? I was in the pub. So some histories have been made from pubs, right? I was in the pub with the COO of this particular organisation. It was a social event after work, and I wasn't long into that organisation. It was an opportunity to go and see the COO and kind of have a talk with him. He was a very social guy. He liked a few drinks. And so I kind of collared in, and we started talking about how the organisation works and what I'd seen and what I did. I was a Scrum Master. And we got talking, and he was slightly dismissive, you know, about Agile and kind of what he thought it could bring to the organisation and those kind of things. And I was full Scrum boy, right? I was kind of like, yeah, Agile changed the world, yeah, Scrum Masters, woo! And he was like, oh, no. But he did ask me one question that night, and he said, Andy, what would you like? And I was kind of like, oh, this is a good question. It's like an opportunity to ask for a blank checkbook, right? So I said, I'd really like a team of Scrum Masters in the organisation that can go and help shape your projects, right? Make things run better, okay? Get things out the door faster, blah, 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 blah. You know, all the things we've come to kind of know about what we think Agile is and what Scrum is. Because I thought it was that easy. I thought it was, ruined it. I thought it was that easy to just go into an organisation as a Scrum Master and change the world. Okay, and that was kind of my failure. So basically, what follows, okay, is everything I learned over the course of probably a year and a half, 2 years, when I finally got the opportunity to get a team of Scrum Masters. Okay? So This particular organisation was an enterprise organisation. Visual joke, this is Star Trek. I'm a big Star Trek fan. Star Wars has lightsabers and all that weird stuff. I don't know, I've never bought into it. So this is just a visual joke on enterprise organisations. Enterprise organisations are interesting things. And this is stuff I found out about enterprise organisations. And Neil said it earlier around sales guys. Okay, I thought he was going to ruin my whole talk earlier. I was like, oh no, shut up, stop talking. But this particular organisation had sales guys. Okay? Now these guys, these salespeople, their job was to go and sell stuff, right? As you do. They go and sell the products, they go and sell the services, they go and sell the capabilities of this organisation. So the problem with these sales guys is they had no bearing on actually what got delivered. And most often than not, they didn't really understand what it was they were selling. They didn't involve people, they didn't have conversations, they didn't come back and learn. So they just went out and said, hey, we've got this great thing. Okay? Customer goes, magnificent, you know, I'll have all of that and that and that, we'll have some more, right? And that's how it works. And the sales guy goes home, drives home in his BMW, you know, all smiles, you know, and happy, I've done my job. I've sold some stuff. And that's how it works. And the problem with that is the customer then goes away and says, well, I've got that, you know, I've got this great thing coming to me, right? I've got this brilliant thing, it's going to change the way we work, or I'm going to be able to sell it on, or I'm going to be able to do all these fantastic things with it. And their expectation at that moment is, I'm going to get everything I want on the time I've kind of asked for, you know, within the money I've promised that I will pay for it. Okay? Now we all recognise that is the kind of the beginnings of the iron triangle. Okay? Those don't know, everyone know the iron triangle? Yeah, kind of, yeah, we'll bring it up anyway. But it's when you fix everything on the expectation that you can deliver everything, and you know everything about everything. Okay? Because when it comes down the chain, okay, to development, maybe if you've got smart enough Scrum Masters and smart enough Program Managers and Project Managers, we then start to look at what has been promised, what has been asked for. You know, what did the customer want? And we know it's a little bit more complex than just what, because you've got the when, the how, the why, you know, the vision, the value, and who it's for. These are really pertinent questions. But more often than not, they only come out really late in the delivery. They only come out when the development team, okay, get it for the first time. You know, if you're lucky, the business analysts, or the product owners, or the product managers will be thinking this way. But this particular organisation I worked in didn't. They left all these kind of questions up to the development team. Shocking, huh? Because what then followed is the big question of when. We love when. When defines everything. When are you going to do it? When are you going to do this? When? And it drives all the behaviour, all the subsequent behaviour that the organisation takes on. Because the customer is expecting everything at a particular date for a particular, you know, amount of money. And everyone from the board down then starts asking, well, when are we going to do this? We've got big deals. We're going to lose customers. We're going to do all this stuff. We can't do this stuff. Because of when. Now, I'm not saying you don't give estimates. There's the kind of don't give estimates thing that's going on, which is getting a little bit confusing. What we need to start thinking about is how much is the customer expecting? Okay? Have a different conversation with your customers. Because once you start kind of talking to them around how much are you expecting, it opens the door to understand then what, right? Because how much is a customer expecting then drives the understanding of value, the value to them. Why are we delivering you this stuff at this particular time? By the way, this talk gets a little bit more interesting. I'm just kind of hitting you with all the really kind of deep agile stuff. Then, once you understand the value, okay, and once you understand how much the customer is expecting, then you can look into the what of the value. Okay? Simple, right? Because then you can go and do, as we know, right, iterative delivery. We can go this, and this, and this, and this. We can have this. Lovely stuff. And we can look at the priorities, and the values, and the complexities, and the risks. And then we can schedule it with you. Isn't that lovely? It's amazing. There's a little thing at the bottom here. I haven't bothered to translate these into kind of proper pictures because I kind of like them. Yeah. There's the no-nos, and I love no-nos. Okay? Donald Rumsfeld, US Secretary of State, back when George Bush was in power. We all love George Bush, right? Donald Rumsfeld went into a press conference one day, and they were talking about things that may or may not have happened. And he said a lovely speech. And he said, things that may or may not have happened always interest me. There are no knowns. Okay? That is to say, there are things we know we know. Okay? There are known unknowns. That is to say, there are things we know we do not know. Okay? And then there are the unknown unknowns. These are the things we do not know that we do not know. Okay? And I always put those in the context of backlogs. Okay? Because for every backlog, there are things we know we know. Okay? And there are the things we know we don't know. But then there's always the change. There's always the unexpected. There's always the things that we don't know that we don't know. But if the customer is expecting 100% of what's been committed, and in that portion lines a whole load of don't knows, you're already in trouble. Okay? Because it's already been promised. The customer's expecting all this stuff. The development team is the first time they're getting an eyes on this thing. And they've got a whole load of unknown unknowns. How do we deal with that stuff? I wrote this, I can't remember why I wrote this. Things we know, and what the customer thinks we know, and then I made it even more confusing. How much do we know we know? So apologies for that. Because we end up in this deadly cycle of expectation versus exposure. Sorry, expectation versus commitment. So these are the things we promised that we can't deliver. And the exposure is either from a Scrum team to the management, whoever they are, right, about how much they can't deliver, or it just scales up, right? So the CEO who comes down and says, where's this project, right? The board are expecting this to be committed and delivered on this day. And when is it going to be delivered? And you're going to have to say, well, the original estimates, the original promises, the original dates, the original scope have all changed. But we've got to keep to the same, sorry, not the dates, we've got to keep, everything else has changed, but we've got to keep to the same date. And the exposure internally is horrible, and the exposure potentially externally is horrible. I'm telling you a great tale of doom and gloom. Because we go back to this iron triangle. This is a nice take on the iron triangle, okay? To the time cost scope. Okay, I found somebody who did fast, cheap, good. I like that. You can only have two of them. You can have it cheap and good, or cheap and fast, or fast and good. You can't have all three. Because at some point, something's going to break. Okay? So, first lesson. Okay? One does not simply become agile. Okay? Go back to my original thoughts of being a Scrum Master and coming in and running agile team, and kind of facilitating, coaching, and kind of, hey guys, let's do all this stuff. Yeah. And actually getting a chance to kind of explore the organisation a little bit more. You find it's actually a hell of a lot more complicated than just being in that team. So where do we go from here? Well, we have to look at roles, okay? We have to understand the enterprise in terms of roles, okay? So this is genuinely the roles, the pictures that are associated with the roles when I Google them, okay? So I Googled project managers, okay? So I'm sorry for any project managers in the room. Okay, so folks, okay. I'm not dismissing project managers in any sense, okay? There is another life for you. There is still hope. You will still work. It's okay. The misconceptions around project managers not existing has all come from people misinterpreting Scrum. I'll come on to that in a minute. But everyone done with photos? You can have a copy of this. You can just, actually, if you're just that bothered, you can go and Google. That will come up, right? So we have program managers, right? These are the when guys. When are we going to get this? Deadlines. That's all I can do to manage what's going on. Deadlines. Okay. We have architects. I'm sorry if I insult anybody in this, right? So architects are lovely because architects like to design everything. Okay. They are. The traditional role of the architects, drawings and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, they design everything as much as they know. We seem to have a concept in software development that an architect designs everything and that's it. That's fine. And then it's off to the development team. Thou shalt code it to exactly how I've said it. There's no responsibility back to the development team to, can we update this? Can we change this? Okay. And then finally, the other role I want to point out was product people. So we tried nothing, we're all out of ideas. It's not entirely true, but enterprise organizations have business analysts, right? They have these huge teams of people who analyze the business. Don't know what that is. What is analyzing the business? But they produce these lovely documents that we all have to follow. So this brings me on to this picture. And this picture is an actual picture from this organization as I went through the transition that we discovered how things worked. Because what we had was your Scrum team in their lovely little box. That's how they worked. Okay, and then across the top were what we kind of identified were the influencing type people who would prevent that Scrum team from achieving what they needed to do. So Scrum says the Scrum team, sorry, the development team, which is that portion of people, shall contain every role that is necessary to complete a production-ready increment. Some of those are that. But when we look at the top, we have lots of influences. So this is where I can say, this is an actual organisation. This is actually everybody who had something to do with the Scrum team. Okay, I'm not going to make this up. Okay, so at the top we had SCM, source control managers, right? Except kind of build people, right? They just kind of looked after stuff. Right? Then we had project managers, program managers, technical project managers, technical program managers, business program managers. Okay, we had enterprise architects, solution architects, data architects, technical architects, product architects.
Why don't start?
I can't remember what the start.
PAs?
I can't remember what the start. I think I probably manipulated this for something else. And infrastructure people. Okay. Somebody then said to me, "Did you have infrastructure architects?" I said, "Yeah, we have infrastructure architects." They said, "What about security?" And I was like, "Yeah, we have security architects as well." And the list is endless. Release architects, all these people. You imagine a user story, a requirement, an item to be done coming into this team. And they can't make any changes without consulting one of these. Right? Actually, and pretty much all of them. Now, if all of them have said, you must do it in this way, where's the autonomy? Where's the ability to manage change? Where's the ability for the team to be self-organizing? And it ends up being Scrum in a box. Okay? But actually, even worse, you end up going, well, we're not actually sure whether we're doing Scrum or Waterfall. Okay? Because you end up in this pattern. You end up with a whole lot of people doing a load of defined planning up front. Loads of kind of product documents and spending. I did a great bit of coaching consultancy for a auto parts manufacturer. They were telling me about this project they did, and I drew it up on a whiteboard. And I said, "Okay, when did it start?" They said 2012. I said, "Brilliant. When were you meant to deliver?" They said 2013. So it's about a year's project. I said, "How long did it take you to design it?" They said 8 months. Okay, but for a year project. I said, how long did it take you to code it? They said 8 months. I said, well, you were late already. They said, yes, we know. Okay. And we do. I guess the fallback, this theory X thinking, right, is we have to define everything up front. We have to spend everything all the time defining everything we think we know we know. Okay. And then we fall into a horrible trap when change comes. Because there's no point in iterating if you can't change. That's kind of a harsh statement. But it becomes true. And then you end up with the fall position where you then have to jump through a whole load of other hoops that you haven't considered at the start to be able to actually achieve getting stuff to production. So that's Water-Scrum-Fall for you. So, second lesson I learned anyway, which is one does simply not become agile. It's really difficult. Some organisations are just so hard to change, influence, because they're so set in their ways, the culture is there. So what have I talked about? I talked about contracts and sales. I talked about the Iron Triangle. I've introduced you to Water-Scrum-Fall. I talked about roles, difficulties. I've talked to you about team structures a little bit. So it wouldn't be an Agile conference. Actually, I haven't seen it so far. An Agile conference without flashing up the Agile Manifesto. We all know this, right? Yeah, Sandy, we all know this. We're paying attention. Well, not the Agile Manifesto. one of my key learnings, right, about the Agile Manifesto, and you see it really common. You see it really common nowadays, where people try and judge themselves against the Agile Manifesto. They create these kind of huge spreadsheets and go, well, we do this, we don't do this, and we're 10 out of 10 here, and all this kind of stuff. The way I like to think about the Agile Manifesto is it's like vegetarian ham, which is chicken flavour. Right? Any vegetarians in the room? Nobody.
Is this real?
This is real. This is apparently a real product. Again, you can Google it. They have different flavours. So I think there's a bacon flavour or something. I don't know. Because while this tells you some stuff, okay, this tells you what it is, maybe, and probably what you don't want to do with it, like eat it. It doesn't tell you like how to cook it. You know, what the hell would you do with this? Would you fry it? I don't know. I wouldn't touch it. I don't know. So the other way I like thinking about it is like the Pirates Code. Okay, so most of you have probably seen the Pirates of the Caribbean film. There's a lovely scene in the Pirates of the Caribbean film. By the way, I'm from a place called Bristol in the UK. And Bristol is basically the birthplace of Blackbeard the Pirate and all those kind of things. So I should be able to do an awesome pirate voice. I'm going to try, but I can't. I can't every time I fail. It's kind of like the Pirates Code, okay? In the film. And so Elizabeth Swann is the heroine on the ship with Captain Barbosa, and she's bargaining for the safety of Port Royal. She's got a medallion that he wants, and she goes, I'll let Port Royal go. And she goes, brilliant, but you're staying, Missy, or something along those lines. And she goes, what? What about the Pirates Code? And he goes, they're more like guidelines than actual rules. And that's the Agile Manifesto, right? It is a load of guidelines. It says, do some stuff. We value doing this stuff. Okay? More than we value doing this other stuff. It doesn't say you drop one for the other. When you kind of start thinking about Agile like that, it actually opens a few more doors and a few more possibilities. Okay? Because then we have Scrum. Yay! I don't know what it is now. I think people say Scrum is like the most popular framework. It's like 80%. Probably more people using Scrum in the world. I'm a big advocate of Scrum. The downfall of Scrum, when you kind of talk about how you put it into organisations and what that affects, you instantly hit the roles. Scrum is a framework which is built around kind of rules and constraints, and you have to do these things in order to achieve Scrum. The moment you kind of step outside those, you're not really doing Scrum anymore. You're breaking it, and specifically with around the team point of view. And this is probably the point you should all get up and go next door, go and speak to Gunther from Scrum Board. And he'll be able to kind of give you the answer to this stuff. But the moment you start kind of looking at, okay, how do we translate business analysts? How do we translate product managers? How do we translate all these people into working with what we want to do is we want to use Scrum? That's when it becomes really difficult. So, kind of brings me back to my story, okay? So these are all the things I learned. These are the things that I hadn't actually considered. When I was going through an Agile transition, these are all the things I kind of never really thought I'd have to encounter. The people, the processes, the upfront stuff, how difficult it was to actually get an organisation to think about how it worked. So what happened when, oh, excuse me, what happened when I went for Agile? So I hired a bunch of Scrum Masters. Okay? My favourite is the Ken Shoulder thing. It's like, hey, follow me! I hired a bunch of Scrum Masters, and these were actually really senior guys. These people I'd actually worked with in the past I knew were really good. And I sent them out with a challenge. I said, look, we've got real problems here. Real problems with the way this organisation works. We have this huge upfront stuff, okay, and we have this portion that they'd like to put Agile, they'd like to put Scrum in, and then we've got this gated kind of end. Right? We need to kind of, let's see what we can do to go and fix it. And we ended up finding this, and you've seen this earlier, but we ended up finding this in every project in this organisation. There's probably an interesting conversation to be had around the difference between a product and a project. Okay? This company treated every product as its own project. Okay? Okay? And what they used to do was that when a new project came up, they'd throw all these different people all over the place. And they wouldn't actually keep the same people. So every time something new came in, they just kind of moved people who were experiencing one product into like the new thing, and they had never had any consistency. Okay? Even worse, sorry project managers, even worse, the project managers were mostly contractors. Okay? The project managers were mostly people who were not really engaged in the organisation. Okay? These were people who were just kind of mercenary, right? They came into the organisation and they didn't care about anything bar the objective of when. Okay? They just went, I've got to get something out the door, you know. And so we ended up with Gantt charts, you know, millions of times, you know, we had this when. But the problem is we didn't know what. We had this huge problem upstream about, you know, what. And so by the time I hit the development teams, we were in real trouble. Because what had been promised, people had spent, you know, years trying to figure out what it was. Eventually, the management team got fed up and just said, "Give it to the development team; they'll figure it out." And you know, we all know the story, right? Because they then start going, "Oh, when's it going to be done? When's it going to be done? When's it going to be done?" Right? And we ended up in pure, like, horrible Water-Scrum-Fall. And probably even worse, we ended up in Water-Scrum-Fail because we just had no ability to do anything good. We had no ability to change. There was no real point in us iterating because there was nobody to feed back to. What's the point? So all we were doing was taking requirements in, putting together the Scrum structure, having really good conversations about requirements and priorities and risks and doing all the really nice stuff. But effectively, it was just too late. And we couldn't make any effective change. And the program managers revolted. They went, "Oh, this Agile thing, let's blame Agile, you know, it doesn't work." What we did that was really good, okay, is we exposed all the really bad behaviours of the organisation. We exposed the project managers and program managers for exactly what they were doing, which is just asking when. Okay? They weren't working on the what. They weren't trying to understand what it was they were delivering. All they cared about was when. So, Andy, after doing this talk a couple of times, okay, I wanted to kind of leave you with some kind of really clear learnings, right? So my objective for this talk, every time I do this talk, my objective isn't to kind of provide you with the silver bullets that somebody came up to me, right? Isn't to provide you with the kind of, you know, do this. It's like the, you know, the Spotify guys came on, right? I'm not going to give you the right answer. All I want you to do is think about what I talked about and then just kind of take those things away. Okay? So, this was a lovely quote by a friend of mine as we went through this whole painful process. And it was horribly painful. He said this to me one day over a coffee. By the way, our coffees were, you know, if we wanted a coffee, it was on a timesheet, right? It was that bad. You know, we couldn't just kind of go and lounge around like the Spotify people do. Damn you, Spotify people. It's just horrible. But he said this over a secret coffee. He said, "No one understands the complexity or inefficiency until they get involved." And that spoke everything about what I've learned. You know, what I've kind of tried to get across today is, until I actually opened the box and looked how the organisation works, okay, and understood the rules, the processes, and constraints around the organisation, I had no idea what was going on underneath. I just saw a Scrum team and we took some stuff in. So I did promise you another unicorn, okay, pink fluffy unicorn. This was basically, what would I do next time? What would I do if I had the chance next time? I wouldn't hire Scrum Masters. Okay? I would actually look at coaches. I'd actually look at training. And I think, if I'm right, oh no, wrong slide, never mind. There is a slide. I'd actually ask the question, why? Okay? Why are we doing this transition? What's the point? Okay? If I'd have gone back to the pub with the COO, I'd probably not had so much to drink. I'd probably have said, why? Why do this? Andy, here's an opportunity to go and hire some Scrum Masters. I've probably gone, why? What is it that you're looking for? Why are you trying to change? And what is it that you're looking to get out of it? Because that's a really important question. The moment you understand why you're trying to change and what it is you're trying to get out, you can use that as a driver for everything. Okay? We want to increase our time to market. Brilliant. Okay? Perfect driver. Measure it. Okay? Get it out there. Okay? Feed that back. Understand. Learn. Okay? So, don't do this. Please. Don't. If you're in charge of an organisation or have any influence in an organisation, don't do this. Don't do this to people with Scrum. It's horrible. Nobody will thank you for it. It's just not good. Because you will end up in kind of Water-Scrum-Fall, or even worse, the fail Scrum-Fail, as we had. Do this instead, okay? Ask why. Why are we trying to do this transition? Why are we trying to change? What's the benefit? Okay? Seek senior support, of course. And it should be a no-brainer. Without investment and the support behind you to make that change, you're going to be doing what I did. Just sitting at some low level in the organisation going, this doesn't work. And I was going, I don't care. I'm just concerned with when. I'm in my BMW. Let it flow. Yeah, frozen. Wouldn't be fun with that flow. This is all around how you understand the way the organisation works, right? What you can do to change that. Okay? Look at the way you work. We worked out in this, when we went through this, it took on average something like 30 days for a requirement to get from conception, even just through the Scrum team. And we were working in 2-week sprints. Go figure that out. So we just couldn't deliver anything. And that was not even getting into production. I probably couldn't even put a figure on how long it took to get to production. But understand the way you work within your Scrum teams, within your projects, within your programs, within your organisation, absolutely paramount. Because you need to understand the rules, the limits and constraints that are placed around you. Okay? What can you change? What can you influence? Do all the things you need to be thinking about. Because if you're going to try and change the way you work, you need to understand this. Good, I've got 5 minutes left, it's good. And reduce your release cycle and commitment. Okay? This comes from a team that was working with a large financial organisation. They said to me, Andy, our customers asked us to reduce our release cycle. And I said, okay, what is it at the moment? How long is your release cycle? They said 6 months. I said, okay. They said, yeah, but they want it every month. I was like, oh. I said, can you do that? And they said, no. It's like, well, how are you going to meet this commitment? How are you going to meet this achievement, right? The customers expect. How are you going to change that iron triangle? An agile coach once said to me, time is inelastic. Meaning that time, you set a time pressure, that can't change. Time doesn't change. Time is always there. So the importance of having some regular cadence around the way you work, right, then should set the flow of the way you work subsequently. So this talks about having strategy flow, having release flow, having iteration flow, having continuation flow. These are all opportunities to feedback. Feedback, understand how you work and measure. Go on, I've probably compressed this. So that's it, okay? That's it, that's the story. I used to not have this slide, I just thought I've got Austin Powers in just because it was a little bit less depressing than my story. But yeah, for me, my story basically, I didn't fail, we failed. We failed to change the mindset of the way people worked. We failed to change the mindset and the way the organisation worked. Eventually the project managers and program managers took over. They got rid of me and my team, okay? They went back to Waterfall, because that's going to improve everything, right? You're already late. Let's go back to Waterfall, okay? Okay, and they didn't see any improvement. What I hear now is they've actually gone back to Agile, because actually what they saw from what we were doing was improving things. They were expecting it to change overnight. They were expecting this instant change. And what we know, and I've been through agile transformations in the past, and I know they take years. And they are slow-moving things, and actually it doesn't end. When you think it ends, it doesn't end because there's always something else to improve on. There's always something else to change. And that's it. Okay. Thank you very much.
As you can see, you have a lot of fans. So,
I know it's a bit of a colour in that.
it's a very hot topic. So
what happened to IBM?
Sorry.
we will have as many questions as you like. So
I want to ask, how would you deal with external clients, let's say code for some external client, you work in Agile, but the client wants estimation. He wants to hear the time that you will deliver him a finished product, and he won't sign contracts if you don't.
Okay. I'm going to do the typical trainer question answer to this. How do you think? Okay. So the question was, how do you deal with a client that basically wants the iron triangle? I would say I wouldn't. Right? I wouldn't. There's no point in entering into a conversation where somebody isn't willing to accept that things change. If they really want to impose that they know everything about everything and they're not going to change their minds, then you might as well go and do Waterfall, because Waterfall suggests that you know everything about everything. Okay? And what we know, in everything we do, things change. Today's changed, right? We were running for quarter of an hour over, right? And I've compressed my talk down to meet that fact. If I'd have been Mr. Waterfall guy and said, no, I've planned every slide and I've spent ages. And this is the problem we face. Certainly working for IBM, I get that a lot. So my job is to go into organisations and have those conversations.
You will have to give some estimate. I mean,
yeah,
I would like to pay for it, so I'd like to see more or less when something will happen.
Yes. Yes.
In that triangle, you have to, something might fluctuate, but
yes,
the other things have to stay.
Yes, absolutely. But you base it, so empirical, right? So you base estimation of what you know, okay, what you learn from what you do. But the danger is setting these expectations up front, which basically say, no, we know everything about everything, and it will take this long. Okay? And not involving the people who understand how long that's going to take is where you get into this kind of danger zone of, misexpectation.
But in order to get also your statement of your presentation a bit right, because you said don't do that, like the Scrum thing. But why? I mean, Scrum can be the answer to what you're saying now. It can give you better estimates, short iterations.
I'm not saying don't do Scrum, but you took that message. Okay, I apologise. I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying don't do Scrum. If anybody else took that message, I'm saying don't put Scrum in a box. Okay, don't expect a Scrum team to be self-autonomous without support around it.
I used to be a project manager at IBM.
I feel your pain.
So, and one of the reasons I never tried to do Agile in projects is that they were all fixed price projects. So we did all negotiation up front and then we chose the contract, and then I didn't want any change. So how do you deal with that, like with a fixed scope and fixed price contract? Can you still do Agile?
But did you have the fixed time as well? You had to deliver it by a fixed time.
Yeah.
And then you can't. It's the same answer.
You can deliver less.
Well, but then if you try and the comment was you can deliver less, but if you deliver less on a fixed time, fixed scope, fixed price, you're not delivering what was promised, and that's absolutely right.
The scope, I just want to add something. You can sacrifice quality.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. You can still ship everything. It just doesn't work.
So the comment, in case you didn't hear, was you sacrifice. So basically, you can sacrifice quality. And actually, it's a really good point because it's something I don't talk about in this presentation. But the opinion, can we turn the camera off? I'm going to say something horrible. So the opinion of a certain senior manager was that we don't care what we deliver. We deliver on time. Okay? We don't care that it hasn't been tested. We deliver on time. We do too much testing. We do too much testing. We waste too much time figuring out, whether this thing's going to work. I mean, it was that kind of attitude driving the management layer of this organisation. It's gobsmacking. So thank you. Maybe at the back. Oh, sorry.
It's kind of related to the previous question. Have you ever felt or thought that Agile is really not applicable to everywhere, like IBM, for example?
Don't bring up the evidence.
Really
Absolutely. I worked with a large telecommunications company in the UK, okay, and they said, hey, we want the senior partner said, Andy, I want you to transform all these teams. It was a ridiculous requirement. And I said, look, hang on, let me figure out how you work. Okay, let me figure out what it is you're trying to achieve, and then I'll make some recommendations of where it's achievable. After going back and forth with this for a couple of months, I wrote him a nice lot. He wrote some statements saying, oh, what's going on? You haven't delivered anything. And I wrote him a very nice structured email which basically said, you can't change. Basically, if you want to be agile, the customer wasn't willing to be agile with you. So what's the point? It was going to be a really, really hard slog. If the customer doesn't want to engage with you and be agile, you're going to find it really, really difficult. They're going to be expecting that fixed time, fixed scope, fixed contract. Because that was the level of their engagement. That's what the customer expected. So whether or not the team wanted to change, realistically under contract, there was very little they could do to make a positive change out of it. So I'll do the lady after, sorry. Yeah, Karen.
Hi. So let's say you are in a fictional company and you want to do agile transition, but it's very difficult to convince business and executives.
Yes.
Would you consider in that situation to enter the Water-Scrum-Fall through your own wheels and say we're going to apply just specific things, but the benefits are going to be very specific. So you will know the benefits of the parts of Agile that you apply and you try to convince the business gradually?
So that is actually a really good point, because you could do that. Okay, so you could put Scrum in the middle. Okay, what I say if you do that is don't stop there. Okay, get the buy-in to be able to put Scrum in, but don't treat that as your end state. Okay, don't go, well, Water-Scrum-Fall, we're agile, right? You're only just doing Scrum for the sake of doing Scrum. Okay? The moment you kind of start looking to push that outside the organisation, so start bringing architects, product people in, trying to close that gap between the water and the full bit, that's when you start to transition. So yes, it could be absolutely for an organisation the right place to start, but don't treat it as the end state. Thank you, really good. Finally, laid it back.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm just wondering if there's anything that you've done, any techniques you've used, try to convince your clients. Is there any techniques that you've used in order to try to convince your clients, like global organizations, in order to adopt this?
I got it. So what have I done in client situations when they're talking to me about Agile? Kind of the question to convince them.
Convince them, like your clients, for example, like for global organizations, they have specific 6-month release periods, and you don't have an opportunity to do extend.
So I never convince. Okay, I never go in. My job should be, but I actually never go in and try and convince people that Agile is the right thing. The technique I use, I get a whiteboard, okay, and I draw a line on the whiteboard. I say, tell me about your projects. Tell me how you work. Tell me about the people. Tell me about your organisation. Sorry, right? And tell me about how you work. And tell me what your objectives are and what your goals are. Try and learn what it is they're trying to achieve. It kind of goes back to the same thing. And only then you can say, okay, I understand what you're trying to do. I understand where you're trying to go. You know, it could be the right thing to try this. It could be the right thing to try this. But realistically, they've got to do the hard work. You know, if I'm selling IBM into them, I can say, for sure, I can give you the right people who can help you with that journey. But I'm not going to go, hey, we'll give you, a whole fully fledged, experienced Agile team without understanding what it is they're trying to achieve or the way they work, because you would just probably lose more times than you would actually win from those kinds of situations. So, okay, one last question, because I realise I'm in that lovely position that all trainers love, which is the period between the break and you getting your lunch, okay? So
trying to gain time.
No, we're trying to gain time and we're taking it away. Let's have one last question, and then if you want more questions, come and see me after. Go on. It's okay. So I'll repeat it.
Yes. So from what I understand up to now, there is no relation between project management and
No. If you look at the Scrum Guide, well, actually, the Scrum Guide doesn't even mention the word project manager. You can also look at why you would have Scrum Masters if you're doing Scrum. Okay, you should have Scrum Masters, right? But Scrum doesn't say project managers do a particular job. Scrum doesn't even say anything about project managers. So what should project managers do? I mean, even though, because that would be different for every organisation. Now traditionally, so me personally, I think project managers would actually be great at product roles. I think project managers would be really good at understanding the product and understanding what it is going to take to deliver that product. Because of the analytical mindset, the way they think about, okay, we're going to be doing this, this, and this. But actually, for you and your organisation, and you personally, what should you be going and doing? I don't know, because I don't know how you work. I don't know, whether you're doing Scrum. I don't know whether you're going to be doing, Kanban. You could be not choosing any particular framework and just kind of choosing something off the Agile Manifesto that kind of that speaks to you. Sorry, it didn't give you the perfect answer that you were looking for. You look really dejected and disappointed. So anyway, I'm going to stop.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.